Fellow travelers, we're on the end of season 3. It's crazy. I loved you guys, and this is the end of season 3. How the hell did we get here, man?
We're here. We did it. Season 3, 3 seasons. There are one season, there's a second season, and then there is this one that we're on right now. Hello, I'm Russell Tyndall. I'm another one of your co-hosts for the Never Ending Adventure podcast, an Adventure Time podcast. 3 seasons, Ned. How do you feel? 3 seasons? Oh my gosh, 3. Not 1, not 2, but 3.
We started this podcast, and I think the good part of this show starts on this episode. Literally,
wow.
I've been thinking about this episode since we started the podcast. This is a huge turning point. It is a huge development. It is a opening up a canon that goes through the rest of the show.
Oh my gosh.
And it's literally
this episode, yes, season 3, episode 26.
Yes. This one starts off Flame Princess, who is, in this episode, you don't really learn much about her. I know
you love Flame Princess.
Yes.
I'm questioning why.
Because
after this episode, I don't know, man. She's fiery.
We've gone through a lot of C-list characters. We've gone through a few B-list characters. And Flame Princess ends up being top tier, part of Finn's development. Who he becomes by the end of the show is very, very much molded by Flame Princess. So this is kind of a jumping block into the rest of the show, which it just makes me excited. I started this show wanting to be on this episode and get you to this point because it really only gets better from here.
Well, I hate this episode.
You hate this episode?
No, okay, I'm just fine. I'm just messing.
Okay, I was going to say, it's not the best. I'm not sure. No,
it's a good episode. It's a good episode.
Yeah, I'm not even sure alone, stand alone though. We've gone through some great ones in season 3, and I'm wondering if this will make my top 3 or 4 or not.
It might be top 5, maybe.
Yeah, it could be 5 or 6 for me. I haven't sat down and analyzed it yet. But I could
see why you would like this. I could see why anyone would like this episode. And also, Flame Princess is an interesting new character. Let's add another love interest for our boy, our teenage baby boy.
Finally, another love interest. We've had Princess Bubblegum, which is how this episode starts off. We've had other princesses. We've had a tree witch. We've had a
lots of princesses that loved him, and it was pretty unrequited.
And this is really the first time Finn has ever had anybody almost literally dropped in his lap. That's cute. That is voice acted phenomenally, absolutely phenomenally. And then he's, Jake even says in this episode, dude, Princess Bubblegum's too old for you. You got to get over it. It's creepy. Not just the fact that he's 13, but the fact that she's thousands of years old.
All right. Last episode, Ned, you hinted at that you got a new tattoo. Is it Flame Princess? Because you're just in love with her, clearly.
Man, that'd be a deep cut tattoo for sure. No, I have.
Would it? She seems to be. You just talked about how important. Oh, there it is.
Right there on the arm. LTP. So I got the letters LTP tattooed on the side of my arm, specifically right here, because it is actually a great lead up into this episode. So LTP stands for Lumpy Truffle Princess.
Truffle Princess. There it goes.
It stands for Love the Process. So
love the process.
Long story short, I had a coach in high school who we had a lot of summer practices going on, and we had these little t-shirt practice jerseys, and he Sharpied LTP on the sleeve, and it stands for Love the Process. And Love the Process, it stuck with me for a long time because he was it's not, the typical saying is trust the process. And it's one thing to trust the process, and it's another thing to love the process. So it stuck with me for a lot of life stuff. That's, the journey's not always, people are always it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. And like the journey sucks sometimes. You go through hard shit and you do things that you don't want to do, and you do jobs you don't want to do, and all of it, you know, if you've got your grounds about you and you end up at your destination, it's nice to be able to sit in something that you are not loving and just be like, I need to love this because this is part of my story and it's part of my development. So I got this one just to there to remember that it was, you know, it was always on my sleeve, but to love the process every day, you know?
That's cool, man. So it's another part of the sleeve that you're building on your left arm.
Yeah, I'm building the sleeve, which...
Are you going to grow? Is it going to go past the elbow? Are you going up to the shoulder? Or are you...
Yeah, I think I decided. I've got some stuff I want to do
LTP is...
Yeah, I want to do some... I want to fill in some more on the forearm, but yeah, this is kind of the beginning of going up the shoulder over time. Yeah.
I like it, man. That's awesome. What's new with me? I don't have any new tattoos. Thank you for asking. Allie has been working. Not yet. It's not going to be BMO. I'm telling you, man. There's no way. There's a chance. No, I'm going to get BMO on the bottom of my foot, like Andy from Toy Story, but BMO for some reason. I don't know. No, actually, Allie's been working. She's back at the ballet, so she's been working that a lot. And I've been doing some boys' nights with myself, our dog, and sometimes with my buddy Norm, who was my ex-roommate. The breakup was tough, but we still get along. You know, I had to move in with Allie. So
Norm, you're a good guy. I like you.
Oh, Norm is a great guy. He doesn't listen to this podcast, but shout out to Norman.
Shout out to Norm. I didn't know if he did listen to the podcast or not. So
no,
I figured I'd
give
him a shout out.
He supports us. He supports it. You know, he's just not an Adventure Time guy, but maybe one day. Well, what's up, you molten mamas? Let's get into this freaking episode, huh?
Freaking into it.
Yeah, we started out, dude. I love at the very beginning of this episode is just an interesting scene. And a very frustrating scene, actually, when I'm really thinking about it. But
man.
You got the liquid pyrotechnics, which so frustrating, right? Oh, liquid pyrotechnics, like that doesn't make sense. Like liquid fire, you know. I'm just making a bad joke. Sorry, I've had Ned was drinking whiskey. Forced me to drink whiskey. You know,
you got to drink some whiskey. But hey,
it's the last episode of season 3. Come on.
We got to get a little whiskey on this episode. No, it makes sense. I love they do the liquid pyrotechnics because it is a good beginning to parallel or to juxtapose PB and Flame Princess. She's doing stuff with liquid, and we got Flame Princess, and it extinguishes her later. And that's the battle. That's the battle that Finn's going through right now. A little bit of
it does make me wonder. Is this going to be a battle? Because obviously, at this moment, when they're on top of the treehouse and they're having this weird situation where Finn is trying to cuddle up with Princess Bubblegum because Jake was, and she's like, "Oh, thanks, puppy," like really cute to the dog that's laying on her lap, and then Finn's like, "Oh, I don't know what to say about how cool these fireworks are. I'm going to do the same thing," and he tries to cuddle up, and she's like, "Come on, Finn, don't be weird."
Yeah. Well, first of all, we have to call out Jake's dogism. We said we were going to call it out when Jake has a dog. He's got a girlfriend too. So like him cuddling up with PB and her being like, "Oh, nice puppy." It goes to show that Jake has this dogism. Now, what Finn doesn't realize is like what he does, how cringe it is. It is so cringy. And but
it's relatable. I feel like I've done stupid things with girls that I had crushes on, but I don't know.
Oh, bro, that's where I was. That's exactly where I was going. Is that when I was 13, you know how much cringe shit that I did, like with girlfriends or with crushes I had. Like I was a big old ball of cringe. So I was like,
school Ned.
Yeah, private school Ned. And honestly, I wish I'd had a little bit of like more real world stuff to smack me in the head and be like, don't be this way. Don't be that way.
I was just too afraid of like what people would think. But what I was getting at though was like Princess Bubblegum. Is she gonna does she cause the chase? Because Finn obviously loves the chase. We've seen how much he loves the chase with Princess Bubblegum, and then maybe even with Flame Princess at the end of this episode when she slaps him and runs away. And he's like, I think I have a crush. And that's how they end the episode. He loves the chase. But does Princess Bubblegum flirt with him, kind of put it on because she wants him as her knight and only her knight? And she knows that if he's in love with someone else, then he won't be her knight. He'll be someone else's knight. Is that the issue?
I don't. So you're there. I think you're not wrong with the Princess Bubblegum wanting to be liked. And so I think it's not necessarily like, I want you to be my knight. I think it's more like Princess Bubblegum is always seeking validation. And we see it like creating her candy like people. The only person she really doesn't get validation from is Lemon Grab. And it drives her crazy. And I think that a lot of this, like, she could really throw up like really good barriers with Finn early. And she doesn't do that. And you wonder why. You're like, she could just be like, no, I'm too old. You're too young. It's never going to happen. She doesn't do that because I think she knows he'll constantly keep validating her and keep being like, I like you and you're doing cool stuff. And like, keep doing what you're doing. And she doesn't want anybody to tell her, don't keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting too. I think part of what makes me so frustrated is our conversation that we had when we talked about the episode, What Was Missing? Because that seemed like such a pivotal moment. That really felt like we've had this big conclusion, especially in the song, My Best Friends in the World, where Finn's singing to Princess Bubblegum, to Marcy, to Jake, not to BMO for some reason. And it's just, I don't know why.
Not to BMO.
You know, he's
makes sense.
like, when am I your knight, your lover, you know, whatever. I mean, clearly not your lover, but like, it felt like that was the moment where he was like, okay, I'm okay with it. Like, you're my best friends. And that's what I love about it. I love the night that we had when we were sharing the ramen. I love the moments that we have. I don't love you. I don't have a crush on you. And it really felt to me like that was us moving past the boyhood crush. But what I'll say is life doesn't work like that. And I think that is why I'm okay with, like, there are still feelings, right? Like, that is so natural for there still to be feelings for that person that you had a crush on. There's never moments in my personal experience of like, I am on or I'm off. Like, it's a gradual process to move past liking somebody or having feelings for someone or feeling broken up with and upset, as Finn goes through like the biggest breakup of his life for some reason with Princess Bubblegum. Poor guy. But I don't know. I think that's the only reason why I like it is because that's just not how life works. You got to have time to heal that wound.
Yeah. Well, it's something that like it's even less of a wound, and this is more of like a flame. If there was a flame in him for PB, it's like, with the when the last song, with the episode, What Was Missing, it was kind of like, okay, he was able to extinguish that flame a little bit and be like, I realize how much, I like you, but I know it's not going to happen. And this is just like this little moment, this little like her being really motherly towards Jake and sweet. And it just like she's throwing another log on the flame, pun intended with Flame Princess. But
we got it, Ned. We got it.
Yeah. I hope you would. I hope you did.
Just mess with you. Yeah.
It's okay. This one I think could be filled with puns. And I think maybe that's why they had Flame Princess in this episode is it's Finn's flame. It is his preteen flame love that he has. So
so maybe this would be like a real relationship, a real crush. Because it does feel like in my, again, experienced opinion, like there's the difference between like early childhood crushes that like aren't like actual loves. It's just kind of like, I don't know why I find you attractive. I don't understand these feelings at all. And then, I know why I'm attracted to you. Early teenage years. Like I could make a
it's like you're like rationalizing it, like re-rationalizing it again almost.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that makes sense.
it's just like knowledge of like, oh, I actually understand what's happening within me and like why I have these crushes. Like that crush, that first crush in that moment of your life, I think is very different than the initial. Just like, oh, what a wonderful, cute girl that it doesn't even matter, like she's just awesome.
Yeah. We're all like logic. Finn immediately throws logic out the window again.
Yeah.
He was logical before, and it was just like that one little moment. He was like, "Cool, this is it. I can make my move. Like it's going to be the time."
Yeah.
And
well, you get the first great song in this episode right after that when BMO, I guess Jake is like BMO play a video game, like try and distract Finn, which video games are a pretty good distraction. I gotta admit, for me at least, I enjoy that. But All Gummed Up Inside is the name of that first song. Ned, how do you feel about All Gummed Up Inside and really just all the songs for this episode?
I loved it. I thought the wrapping up of season 3 with this whole episode kind of being revolved around this song is so great. One, I immediately thought it reminded me of the song Best Friends in the World from What Was Missing. It was a very similar tune, maybe with some like differences. But it hits exactly. I think Finn also uses music to 100% like describe how he's feeling. Like no holds bar feelings out. And I love that Jake uses the same tune. Instead of all gummed up, it's all warmed up,
Yeah.
And so I thought that was such a cool parallel of, again, he's stuck. There's puns all over the place. He's stuck on Princess Bubblegum, and then he gets reignited with a new love with Flame Princess. So
the songs were my tops actually, especially All Gummed Up Inside and All Warmed Up Inside. I felt like those were the highlights of this episode for me, outside of what ends up being My Lovely, which we'll get to in a little bit. But certainly the songs I thought were top tier, not nearly as good as What Was Missing that episode, but still really great. And even when Jake is like, all right, I'm going to find you a honey, like for my homie, that whole little rhyme thing that he has. Yeah. I've got to find a honey for my homie, a baby for my buddy, a lady for,
a lady for my laddie.
My laddie. There it is. It must have auto-corrected on my notes. It's
yeah,
like, a lady for my lady.
A lady for my laddie.
That's not what he's doing.
I love that. And I love that Jake puts on the red rain boots, because it reminds me of the red boots.
Is it the rain boots, or does he just put on normal boots? I thought he put on brown boots for this. I could be wrong.
Well, they were like reddish brown. It just reminds me of when Jake wanted to wear the red boots from City of Thieves so bad.
City of Thieves, yeah. That's like what he stole, right? Isn't that what?
Exactly. Yeah, because he was like, I gotta have those red boots, man.
That was so good.
So I love that.
That next scene is such a good scene too with Flambeau, because Flambeau's screaming, hollering. Jake's like, oh, there's a, what does he call her? Because he's underneath some sort of a pot, or I can't remember, like kettle princess or something.
Like a kettle thing. Yeah, but I don't remember what he says, but I mean,
that was such a great moment.
Well, it automatically goes to show, like, when Flambeau's like, yeah, I know I was making noises, like, it's already kind of dastardly. And I have some thoughts about Flambeau in this episode, which, but it's weird. It's weird that like Flambeau is like, he's actually, I mean, like what's his deal? Like, why is he out there? Why is he in the grasslands? Why is he screaming like a little old lady?
Iron owls.
I don't know. It seems like there's some ulterior motives there for sure.
Yeah. Well, he the whole time is kind of, I don't know, he's just kind of like not pranking Jake, but not telling Jake. It's the same thing that Peppermint Butler did when they went to see Death, is he doesn't quite tell him all the information that he needs to fully succeed. Like, he's not like telling him like, oh, you're supposed to be a royalty or like have royal blood if you're going to talk to the Flame King.
Yeah, so well, that's why I think there's ulterior motives. Like, I think that Peppermint Butler even had ulterior motives for sure.
He definitely does. He definitely does.
And Flambeau does too, I think. I mean,
is there anything with Flambeau later on in the show where he comes out as being kind of evil-ish?
So everybody in the Fire Kingdom is kind of evil. It's just
Okay.
kind of it's like a in their nature, in their bones thing. And the Flame King, we see some definitely like future episodes where it's like he just can't not be evil. And part of the Flame Princess in her development with Finn by herself is all about, it's in my blood to be evil and I don't want to be. So I think that that's again why like Flambeau in his essence doesn't tell Jake about what you should bring to the Fire King, and that the Flame Princess is actually evil. Like he doesn't bring that up on purpose. I think that Flambeau is a somewhat of a barren entity of the Fire Kingdom, in that like he's trying to have the Fire Kingdom to take over the grasslands, because that's obviously also fire could take over the grasslands the most easy. So he's like kind of scouting. Yeah. And then he sees this as an opportunity. So sorry for those who love Flambeau. I think he's for sure still evil to his core.
Well, for what it's worth, I think this entire episode is truly just the Flambeau origin story.
It could be. I mean, it could be.
It really is. We find out how he became Flambeau, or how flame bits, as the wiki calls them, are created by the Flame Princess going crazy and using her magic to turn them into little flame cat things. And Flambeau's just like, oh, that's how I became what I am.
That's how I became what I am. I can't
remember what he says.
I've seen this show so many times, and that's one thing that I never caught, was like, Flambeau was like a byproduct of whatever Flame Princess's crazy royal magic creates little flame boys.
Yeah, he's great. This whole episode with Flambeau, I don't know. I like Flambeau a lot. Or Flambeau. I'm not against him, even if he's a little evil. I think it's kind of a harmless evil from what we've seen so far.
It's like dastardly. He's like not necessarily like I'm going to go burn the world down, but he's got a little bit of like tongue in cheek, like, hey, if this goes bad, like, it works in my favor anyway.
Yeah, and I wanted to talk about for a second a moment in that scene that honestly might be the funniest moment of this episode, other than my lovelies, which are the members of the court, the Molten Mamas. When Jake uses his foot to crush the iron owls, right? And kicks them, crushes them, whatever. And then he hops to his foot instead of just like bringing his foot to him, like you would imagine someone like Jake would do. I just love that he kind of like hops over to where his foot extended to instead. I don't know why, but it got me laughing a good bit.
I love it. I love that though, because
it's into the Fire Kingdom.
That reminds, I mean, it's like little things like that after seeing the show so many times, I don't think about those things. And then I'm like, for somebody watching it for the first time, it's kind of like, oh, it's fun to see that like stood out to you.
It's just very Adventure Time. Like a part of comedy, right, is like setting up and then going in some sort of a outside way, or coming out or saying something that is not of what you thought or the listeners thought you were about to say. And so in a way, that's how Adventure Time does comedy in a lot of ways. It's like, here's the setup, and then we have a visual gag, or we have a gag, but the way that they do those gags is unlike many other shows that I'm very familiar with. So to me, whenever that happens, I'm just like, oh, okay. Great Adventure Time humor moment.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and like what you ripped on it from season 1, that gag in season 1 was a butt joke every episode.
Oh gosh. I'm glad we're, kind of
we're beyond those.
We had a
joke
fart
gag.
Joke in the last episode, sort of, but
yeah. Well, the fart jokes can last, but it's it was the everything is a butt, and it's something. Yeah. And so we
moved on a little bit.
Moved on, and the comedy in the show is a little bit. You can tell it's more complex. It's more on brand. They've created a brand, and that is the comedy brand. Yeah,
I love it. Well, dude, before we get any deeper in this episode, I say we take a moment and hear from our sponsors.
Hear from the sponsor.
Hey, fellow travelers. It seems as though you've made it to the end of season 3. Quite the astounding milestone. Well, I think you deserve a gift. No, 3. 3 gifts. The first, a kiss from Nettie P.
Love you guys.
The second, some advice from an old friend. Oh, hey, it's me, Ted. No, never date someone from the Flame Kingdom. You'll just end up burned. The third, a serenade from your favorite co-host. There's a podcast inside my body. There's a podcast inside my soul. I'm singing. What?
Shut up. Just,
all right.
We're done. We're done. You're done. Welcome back from the break, guys. Man, that's a better ad sponsor than I thought we'd have today. Just
Ned
a little wizard
hates
giving out
my singing. That's my takeaway. Ned doesn't want me to sing. I get it. I'm no singer. I'm a drummer. Stay behind the drums.
Yeah, we'll leave it to the fact that you like so much good music and then you start singing. I'm like, Russell, I don't. You should have a better voice than that. You work in the music business. No, that's just
not how it works. I wish I could.
How do you not sing better? You work in the music business.
Man. I saw an incredible band, or a band I really enjoyed live actually yesterday. Shout out to Hefner. They're an Athens, Georgia band made up of some pretty cool dudes.
Please tell me that they at least all dress like Hugh Hefner on stage. That would be fun.
They all dress, they're kind of got that hipstery vibe. They're cool. It's indie rock. Probably some Strokes influence, I don't know. It's just really great. I would go, my rec this week was just going to be go to a live show, like go see live music.
It's good rec.
And since I just was very inspired by Hefner, I'll say they're great. Maybe check out their music if you're interested in some indie rock. That is pretty cool. So
yeah, pretty from Athens, which means it's gonna get it's indie with a little bit of weird thrown in there usually.
Yeah, it's the Athens vibe. They got some Athens vibe in them.
Yeah.
But anyways, back to this episode. No tangents. Dude, the Flame King's Court, or even just the freaking Flame Kingdom. This is our first time seeing the Flame Kingdom outside of the episode that we didn't have any sound from, where the Snow Golem took the Fire Flame Wolf to.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, what was called? The episode. Thank you.
Which was a fantastic episode
where we did get to see at least what would be the outskirts of the Fire Kingdom, and that there's and we've seen Flambo before, so like. We know, but I did love the intro here to the Fire Kingdom because we've had several moments where I'm like, okay, Cinnamon Bun goes to the Fire Kingdom and gets fully baked and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And you're like, well, how's that possible? How do they not die? And now Flambeau's got his little like anti-magic spell or anti-fire spell to put on Jake, which I think is
incantation.
Cool.
That was dope. It's a good way. I was curious how you could have a relationship between Flame Princess and Finn. And maybe even despite needing the Flame Shield to go into the Fire Kingdom, if they're outside of the Fire Kingdom, maybe it's kind of the Rapidash Ponyta thing in Pokemon, where it's like, if I know you or I like you, my flames won't burn you.
No, so it's not that deep. There is the incantation. It does turn you blue, and I think it does wear off too. So
does Finn have to have the incantation every time he comes into contact with Flame Princess?
That's actually kind of the funny thing is I guess Flambeau's not around all the time, and I guess Flame Princess can't do the incantation herself because through their relationship, Finn just like coats everything in tinfoil. So he'll like coat his hands in tinfoil and put tinfoil down on his couch to like have Flame Princess around. So
that's pretty great. I
wish Finn could just learn the incantation himself. But anytime they go to the Fire Kingdom, they do the incantation, or they wear a fire suit. There's like several suits they wear.
Okay, cool. Well, that's fine. I'm not mad about that, and it doesn't bother me at all that he's blue in this episode. I think it's just kind of like, it makes sense. It's freaking hot lava. Half the Flame Kingdom is lava and volcanoes. Yeah. So.
Well, I think they also specifically did it blue because Flame Princess at the very end of this episode, just we won't skip too far ahead, but when she sees Finn wearing, blue shirt and blue pants, she recognizes him because Jake did a little blue fake Finn And so like them being blue kind of makes Finn look more real in the real world. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting. I kind of hated the fake Finn bit by Jake this episode.
It was
sucked.
like, it was not my tops, but because I hated the way that Finn kind of looked like a soy person.
Yeah.
But I would say my tops that got it was when it wasn't Jake doing it, but when they have Finn and Finn gives the gift and that gift is a koala. But my tops is the Flame King being like, yeah, I don't think I like koalas anymore. That was my tops of the whole episode.
Changes his mind halfway through.
He's just like, oh yeah, koalas aren't cool anymore.
Yeah, and actually, my Jake mistake for this episode comes up in that scene too, where he drops everything out of the bag and it all burns up immediately, and for whatever reason he tricks himself. He's like, oh, a gift, yeah. How about three? 3 gifts, Yeah,
and well, mine was just
that whole moment.
My Jake mistake came out of more. He just should not have pretended to be Finn. Like he could have done any sort of other gift. He could have done, I brought you a cake from whatever.
Gosh, 3 gifts, coming up with 3 gifts on the spot though that's tough, dude.
That's kind of his mistake. His mistake was the last one being like, I'm going to pretend to be Finn, and then realizes that Flame Princess is going to come out and try to kiss you, and then be like, oh, this is not the real Finn, and I don't like you that much.
Yeah. Well, I think it's right. She doesn't come out to try and kiss him. It's just that she's rude and has flame powers and evil and tries to freaking kill the people on her court or whatever. And that's when Jake is like, well, okay. Bad hookup. I don't want my buddy Finn connecting with this girl.
Yeah, so there is there's some lore that's going to come up, and I'll spoil some of it for you because it's not going to be like a mega shocker and like later on when we learn about it. But she's obviously in this lantern, and I can say the lantern is something about it. The flame people cannot escape that. So like she cannot get out. She wouldn't be able to do anything. She couldn't use her flame powers outside of that lantern.
Why do they have her in the lantern?
That's answered later on, and it's pretty much because she is super, super, super OP.
Wow.
Some people, I mean, I think the first notion that you get about it is that the Flame King kept her in there because she is more powerful than the Flame King. That's one thing. Jeez. The other thing is that there is an episode later on where you realize that Princess Bubblegum does a lot of research into Fire Princess, and it's a really cool relationship dynamic because Princess Bubblegum keeps like butting in on Finn and Flame Princess's relationship.
Is it because of what I said earlier? She doesn't want to lose her knight? Is that why?
It comes across as that, and that's how Finn portrays it. So Finn is dealing with like, Princess Bubblegum doesn't want me to like love this other woman, but you do realize that her teenageness and I guess her hormones or whatever, if she feels like a super strong emotion, she could destroy the world like immediately. Whoa. And there's a whole episode about that.
Oh my gosh.
That's as much as I will spoil, because I know that's a big spoiler drop, but it does create I just want to let you know, because it was like this part of like, okay, he's got her pinned up in a lantern, and then she comes out, and then she's all crazy and evil, and she comes off as sweet because I think, again, she is sweet, but like the Flame King has her locked away because she's dangerous and she's more powerful than him, and he's kind of an egomaniac too. So,
dang, that's crazy, dude. Well, I'm excited to get further in the Flame Princess and all that stuff. I think it'll be good when we get there.
It's great for the show because it's like a relationship between her and her dad, how he's king. That's a whole nother dynamic. Their relationship between her and Finn, and then how Princess Bubblegum interacts with them. It's just like they introduce a character complex enough and close enough to Finn to where it's like they write 15, 20 more episodes that like are about this.
Yeah. But it's interesting. Finn uses the hair of PB at the end of this episode. So maybe that's another moment too, where he's kind of going further away from the love that he has. I don't know. It's an interesting episode because it's such a bad look for Finn the entire episode, right? He's just
What, of the
screaming.
crying part?
The crying, the screaming constantly. Like, yeah, I love that he does fight his like tear ducts at one point, but
Yeah, that
outside
was
of the comedy, the screaming and all that stuff is just really, it's a bit much, man. I don't know. It's not a good look.
So I have a factoid on that because that's kind of what I brought up last week in saying they had a lot of questions on whether Finn should cry or not. And so Rebecca Sugar said this was an episode that she could finally make Finn cry, although he cried before in Jake versus Meow. He also seemed to cry in Dream of Love and New Frontier. Even though this was not seen on the show, Finn says he spent 30 minutes crying in his bed after Jake almost suffocated him in Crystals Have Power. But this is only the second episode where Finn is seen crying, not including a baby.
Wow.
And this is following an episode where Finn is all about like, I'm not a whiny baby and I don't cry. So it's I think even Penn Ward was like torn on whether or not they should make Finn cry in this episode. So that's why you're feeling what you're feeling, is like, it's definitely outside of Finn's normal activity, you know?
Yeah. Well, I loved when he used Princess Bubblegum's hair because he's freaking out about all the other stuff getting burned up. The photos or the pictures that he has of Princess Bubblegum and everything getting burned. And he's like, I'm going to kill whoever is doing this. And then he goes and he sees, oh, this thing that's causing all this is a girl, which, you know, freaking Finn. But he goes, okay, I'm going to sacrifice the hair and stick it to the outside of this tree house, right? Because it's made out of bubblegum. And then I'm going to catch her. And that felt like a good moment to me. That felt like one of the better moments for Finn for this episode.
Yeah, symbolic for sure. Is he going to let go of this lock of her hair that he treasures so much, and he sticks to the side of the tree? And I mean, it's probably still there. I think it comes back one more time, maybe.
Yeah, still rescuable, but gross.
But catches her, and then I mean, this is the first time he's been a hero all this time, but this is the first time he's been like the hero to the heroine, and it's like this little romantic moment between the two of them. And then Flame Princess in that moment was like, well, who the heck are you? You don't even like me. And he just looks, he didn't even know who she is. Jake has not filled her in on
you.
Yeah. No, well, Jake, at this point, you know, Jake comes back in, he's going to try to tell Finn everything that just happened. Finn has no idea that Jake did this whole like presenting the gifts and
has no idea who she is.
And he just looks her dead in the eyes and he's like, I do like you. And she blushes. And that's like this like cheesy, but very adolescent inspiring little moment between two of them. Yeah.
Yeah, she slaps him. And again, she runs away and he just loves to chase, man. He loves chasing after these girls.
Yeah. And that's how season 4 starts, is this very emotionally driven, stupid chase where Finn learns a little bit about himself. But it's the first time we do see kind of, we've seen some flaws in Finn, but this is a big flaw. This is a big flaw. Like he makes mistakes in the next episode, because he's just crushing hard, like illogically crushing. He's crushed on PB and not done too much that's illogical. And this is the first time where he like does stupid stuff because of a girl.
Okay. Wow. I hope I don't get annoyed by it, but I'm looking forward to season 4 and the first episode.
No, it's not annoying. It's going to be very much, you're going to be like, oh, he's being a teenager. Like we're humanizing Finn. We're making him more just a character than just a hero in the show or something like that.
That's good. That's good. Well, in case y'all were curious, my lovelies, and I think I mentioned it earlier in this episode, were the members of the court, the Mon Mamas. My reasoning for that was how gossipy and great they are. You know, like Jake mentions that Finn's awesome. And then they're all just like, awesome. That's an awesome prince. That's the best kind.
That's the best kind. Then, I literally had that in my notes. I was like, awesome. Yeah. That's the best. That's the best kind.
And then 3 gifts. Wait a second. 3 is a lot of gifts. I want 3 gifts.
It goes to show.
So great.
it goes to show that they're very much just yes people to the Flame
Yeah.
King, though.
That's a great point. I didn't even think about that. They definitely come off as yes, man. Like whatever you say, it's
exactly
George Lucas's crew when he filmed the prequels.
When they filmed Phantom Menace and everything.
I'm just being a jerk. The prequels are fine. Whatever.
Yeah, they aged well. They aged better than expected. We can do
when you know that they're cheesy, it's a lot better than when you're not expecting it to be a cheesy.
Yeah. Well, they built a lot of universe that didn't exist. Now that the universe exists, and we don't tangent on this podcast.
Gosh dang it, Star Wars.
Now that the Star Wars universe is built, the George Lucas prequels aged a lot better. But when literally it was just 4, 5, and 6, and then straight to Phantom Menace, it made no freaking sense at all.
Yeah, I agree. Well,
I don't know, man. Well, I had a question for you, just because we've analyzed it from like Finn's perspective of being a girl, but like when you were young and when you were in middle school, did you ever have those little like emo moments like that Finn has, like when he's like crying on the floor, looking at her picture and singing sad songs? Like, did you have those little like teenage angsty emo moments?
Oh, I've written plenty of terrible poetry throughout my day. But as far as
I don't think I know, because I'm not sure if you've fully shared.
Yeah, we talked about poetry I've written and shared with people I had crushes on, whatever. But as far as emo moments, I think my angst was often like, grr, I'm so punk, when really I wasn't punk at all. And so the first time I bought, or I had Christmas Day given to me a Green Day CD, I thought I was so cool, and I thought I was so angsty, and like, oh, they're saying the F-bomb, and like, I'm in middle school and this is awesome. That's like how I express myself. I don't really feel like I had many heartbreak moments in middle school or high school. When me and my middle school girlfriend broke up after a month of not really going on any dates and talking on the phone very periodically, and holding hands, walking to the bus, I don't think I cried. I think I was just like, yeah, makes sense. We weren't really dating. But what about you? Were you a little emo boy?
Oh yeah, but I mean, I relate with you. Maybe this is why we're actually like good friends, is because that was kind of my same response to all that. Was like, I'm gonna get a little more angsty and a little more angry every time it happens. But I had my moments. Like first round was with the anger, Atreyu and Azalea dying and kind of screamo stuff, and then the next heartbreak was
music, essentially.
Yeah, the next heartbreak was like Rise Against, which is a little bit more like touchy-feely. Some of the stuff is like touchy-feely.
Very fast tempo, though.
Yeah, fast tempo, touchy, like really good lyrically written song. The ones that aren't about politics.
Ned's a pop punker. It's interesting, though. I mean, certainly I think music is a great escape for both of us. And it was when we were in middle school, when we were having, or high school, when we were having silly crushes, and still is today. So maybe that's what you mean by what we connect, or what we connect on, or whatever. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. It's like we did the same era of music where it was like, don't waste your time on me. You're already. I missed you.
Oh my gosh. Now, do you have any factoids for us for this episode? Let's get back on topic, please.
Yeah, we'll give us. Sorry, we don't talk about our lives here. Me and Russell are just so boring. We don't talk about anything.
We're very boring.
I had a moment in this episode, and it led to a great factoid. When the Flame King comes on, and I was like, dude, why do I know this voice? Like, what has he done before?
Oh my gosh, same. Yes.
I had to do some digging. Well, not that much digging, like some Google search digging. His name's Keith David. He's voice acted in a lot of stuff, a lot of obscure like side characters in a lot of shows. And I was like, but I don't recognize any of them. He's the president from Rick and Morty.
Yep. Yeah. I had that same feeling. I was like, I know this dude without a doubt. He's also in Community. Like, I think he is in a couple episodes. Like, he's in so many things. Y'all have definitely seen him before or heard his voice.
Oh yeah.
Before.
Yeah. It's I'd say if you've watched any bit of cartoons or any bit of like pop culture TV, like you would have been like, okay, this
Very
guy like
recognizable.
sounds familiar. But the most exciting fact of this episode is this. They did a Comic-Con 2013 interview with Jeremy Shada, who voices Finn, and Tom Kenny, who voices Ice King, and does voice Flambeau too, which I thought was cool.
Heck yeah.
Is that this is Jeremy Shada's personal favorite episode.
No way. Why?
And I asked him, I tried to DM him, Jeremy, if you do listen to this podcast, we're in Atlanta. I know you do some stuff down here occasionally. We'd love to have you on. I tried to get you on for this episode to talk through because I knew it was close to your heart. So we'll get you on soon, but this is Jeremy's favorite episode.
Okay. Yeah. If we ever have the opportunity to, that'd be really cool.
Exactly. And then the other cool part about this episode is it was the first Adventure Time Valentine's Day special episode. So, we talked about Thanksgiving and spooky seasons and Christmas episodes. That this was I love how they ended the season with a really emotional note. And this was a Valentine's Day special.
What a great non-Valentine's Day special.
Yeah.
I like that. I know it makes sense though, because it is about girls and relationship or, people he's interested to, he has crushes, interested in, has crushes and stuff. So it is a love relationship type episode, but it's not specifically like, I don't know, here's a Cupid character and is shooting, his Cupid hearts into people's butts and making them fall in love with people. And I don't know. Yeah, that's great. That's great.
I feel like there was a lot of like Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon like Valentine's Eve. Like I don't even know the specific one that and Fairly Odd Parents. Like they definitely did some like Valentine's Day stuff, but most of the themes of those shows were around heartbreak and crushes and liking somebody who was not like the Timmy Turner and Trixie Tang in Fairly Odd Parents. It's like very similar parallel to like Princess Bubblegum and Finn. It's just love that you have this crush, but they're not meant to be. And you've got somebody out there that's like way more of your vibe. Yeah. Which is the Flame King to, or is it the Flame Princess? The Flame, it's the Flame King to Finn, just a nice crush.
This episode has been brought to you by the most whiskiest episode the Never Ending Adventure Boys have done in a long time.
Not the most, but it's a little bit there.
In a long time.
In a long time, and at least 75 days. So, oh man, but I know what still, you're talking about. I'm excited for this episode. I love this episode because of what it sets up for season 4. And it creates just, we still bounce around between so many random episodes and dungeons. And this sets up a lot of canon that comes back through season 4. Yeah. But weirdly enough, I watched it again. I'm like, I don't know if this will make my top 5. I don't know. There was a lot of good stuff in season 3. We just got done with dungeons. It's good. Yeah. But I don't know. Do you think, I've asked you this probably 3 times. I'm really shocked
this year that it was the main voice actor of Finn's favorite episode. That's really surprising. I don't think this is going to be top 5 for me, sadly. Yeah, well, I want to like this because I know people love this episode. They have to. But
I'm not surprised that this is his favorite episode because if you think about it, like Finn and Jeremy aged at the same time. They came out in the seasons as Jeremy was growing up. So Jeremy would have been 13 or 14 at this time. And
but this is a Jake adventure. This is barely a Finn adventure,
It might just because it tees it up. And if I had to wager a guess, it would be Jeremy going, I'm developing more as a person. I've got these hormones. I've got this change that's happening to me. And when is that going to happen with Finn? And this is the episode where it happens. And Finn shows vulnerability, he shows emotion. And I do think that maybe this is possibly the moment where Jeremy figured out, he's like, I'm not just voice acting on a TV show. Like, he's like, I am Finn. Like, I am going to be Finn at this point. And like, Finn is me and I am Finn. And like, the writers I would assume that after this moment too, the writers had to have been like, hey, Jeremy, how would you as a 15-year-old boy have reacted in this situation? Okay, cool. Let's write this episode based on that reaction.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I like that. I think that makes sense in my mind for sure.
So Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense.
Well,
And
cool.
I'm all giddy for season 4 now.
All right. I'm excited, man. Do you have any factoids for us, or have we kind of gone through them all
That was
already?
the last of the factoids for sure.
Cool.
We've tapped out on everyone. I wanted to know, do you have any lessons? A season 3 lesson, this episode
Season
lesson?
3 lesson? No, I do have for
We'll do
this
that
episode,
next
though.
week. We'll do that next
Yeah,
week.
let me get into that next week. Man, I think I'm not sure I'm really a fan of rebound relationships. And I know this isn't necessarily, well, it feels like a rebound relationship because Finn was so upset and he was crying so much this episode. And then all of a sudden he's over PB and he's so into this new crush. But I don't really feel like, am I, again, personal opinion, feeling like replacing one strong emotion with another is really like the key to a healthy, happy relationship. But who knows, right? Like sometimes it takes seeing that like you'll find another love eventually to get over or like to move on and be like, oh, the world is not ending. I can move on. So there are two sides to that coin, but I'm just not the biggest fan of rebound relationships. And hopefully
like,
that's not what this is for Finn.
It's a little bit like, and I see, and it is, that's actually a lot of like the development of this relationship is it for real? Does he really like her, or does he just like her because she's there and she's not Princess Bubblegum? And that's a lot of kind of the emotional trial that Finn goes through. Like, does he really like PB, or does he just like somebody that's available, accessible? So I'll see what you have to say about that, but you're not wrong in that. So I think that's a valid feeling to have.
Yeah. Well, what's your lesson from this episode?
Mine is I'm gonna do a little bit of Jeff Goldblum from Jurassic Park. Love finds a way.
That's good.
That's one lesson. And then the second one is sometimes all it takes is a fiery hot slap to the face to realize that you need to like somebody.
Yeah.
Because I just love how she just smacks him in the face and he's got that like fiery little like palm print on Finn's face right when she slaps him, and he's like,
she brands him with her hand.
But I will say, if this doesn't turn out to be favorite episode of the season, I think this is my favorite ending. Like literally it just is like, whoa, dude, I think I've got a crush. Like, I love ending. Yeah. Such a good ending to this episode. But
that's great.
Oh, fun season. More fun than season 1. We powered through season 1. We climbed a little mountain. We wet your whistle with season 2, and now I think we are locked in after season 3. So I'm pumped, man.
Cool. Yeah. More fun than season 1, less nostalgic, certainly for me at least, than season 1.
Yeah. Well, there'll be some maybe season 4. Maybe I think after season 5 is when they like. I'll even go back and watch episodes and be like, I forgot this one existed. Like, just because there's so many. Yeah.
Well, I'm really excited. I think the next season is set up well to introduce this new character and dive deeper into her and their relationship, and also set up well for perhaps the return of some bad guys. Like, where's the Lich? What's he been doing? Let's get into it. And I'm sure we'll talk about that more when we review season 3, and either the next episode or the following episode. But I'm excited for it. Now, do we have any Traveler's Log stuff this episode?
Yes, we do have some Traveler's Log stuff. I think you've fully. I can pull it up actually. Oh no, I got it. We're good to go. So we got a Traveler's Log from James. James and his Instagram, which I think we can call it his Instagram, is Soyboy James on Instagram. That's SOYBOY James.
Okay.
On Instagram. He has some notes from us when we were talking about Another Way, the episode where it's the creepy clown ladies and they get injured from jumping off a bird. And James has some good thoughts. He interpreted more of it as setting boundaries. So he had 3 notes that Finn sets no boundaries. He allows Jake to make the decisions about their bird jumping injury care, even though he protests it and he initially tolerates it. The second point is that Finn sets clumsy boundaries where he asserts himself so much that he tramples on others to protect his autonomy, which usually follows not setting boundaries because the irritation builds up and it breaks out. And then the third point, kind of the end of the episode, is when Finn sets healthy boundaries. He ultimately gets the bird jump injury care that makes sense for him, and then is able to set things right with those he hurt. So James, I love that you bring up those points because, yeah, exactly like you said that you were surprised we did not get into that more. I think it's definitely something that I would have loved to have analyzed it from that angle, but I love that you bring this up. It's a great angle on a development and a maturity of Finn, of boundary setting, of tolerating something, letting an emotion build up, making mistakes because of that emotion, and then, getting a healthy ending and a healthy development out of it. And that's the whole point of this show.
Man, what a great takeaway. Wish we were that capable of coming up with.
We're capable of a lot, Russell. Give us a little credit here.
I'm just busting. No, it is. It's very much like everybody has a different takeaway from the different episodes. And I wish we would have liked that one a little bit more. But he's definitely correct in saying that the clowns were way too distracting.
It was very distracting.
To want to like that episode or to get deeper into that episode in any way, any shape or form.
Yeah. But it's cool. It's cool because the more that we do this podcast and I get to pick your brain about it, specifically, I'm learning more about perspectives I never had on the show. And it's nice to know that other people are out there like, hey, you're missing stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I think we could do we could finish 9 seasons of this show on a podcast and go back and start it all over and probably talk just as much about each episode over again. And that's why the show's awesome.
Yeah, but we won't. That's my promise to you.
You don't want to do 18 seasons of this? Come on.
We're not going to do this entire show again on this podcast.
We have a lot of other things. If we ever get through, it'll probably take us about 4.5 years, I think we calculated to finish the podcast. If we ever keep going, we're going to do
it's a never-ending adventure, my dude. It's going to keep going in some form or fashion. Regardless, thank you so much, everybody. We loved you guys, as Ned always says. Check us out on Never Ending Adventure Podcast on Instagram, TikTok at Never Ending Adventure Cast, Twitter at NEA_podcast. Email us your thoughts, opinions. Get on that Traveler's Log at NEA.travelerslog@gmail.com. And you can always review us. Let us know. We'll shoot you a sticker. Ned, do you have any final thoughts before we get it? I mean, we're going to do a review. So we're going to talk more about season 3, but this is definitely the last episode about an episode for season 3.
Yeah, I've got many things I need to take notes on for season 3 in terms of especially Finn development between episode 1 and 26.
Yeah.
But my only note for today, as we end season 3, is that I love that you guys so very much in the deepest depth of my heart.
Well, controversial. Just kidding. We do. It's true. We very much do.
I love you guys. Russell likes to party, but he hates you guys.
I like to party. I do. I don't know what this voice is. I hope it's not offending anybody. Thank you so much. All right. See you later. Party forever.
Party forever. Love you guys. Season 3. 9 more seasons.